This Porsche had an original sticker price of about $135,000. Today, Kelley Blue Book puts a typical 2010 Panamera Turbo at roughly $18,000. That is nearly 87% of the price gone. But here is the trap. The twin-turbo V8, the PDK gearbox, the all-wheel drive system, the adaptive air suspension, and the Porsche parts catalog did not depreciate with it. So is the first-generation Panamera one of the great used Porsche bargains, or simply a six-figure car wearing an $18,000 disguise? The answer begins long before the Panamera existed. Porsche spent decades circling the same idea, a proper Porsche with room for 4 adults. In the 1950s, the company stretched a 356 into the Type 530. Later came 4-door 911 studies and lengthened 928 prototypes. Ferry Porsche even used one of those long-wheelbase 928s as his private car. Then, in 1988, Porsche tried again with the Type 989, a front-engined V8 4-door coupe with 2 real rear seats. It looked remarkably close to the formula Porsche would eventually use. But the economics did not work, and development ended in 1992. At the start of the new millennium, the idea returned under 3 design proposals: Mirage, Meteor, and Phantom. Porsche wanted sports car dynamics, genuine passenger space, and a fast roofline with a large hatch. The final name came from the Carrera Panamericana. The shape came mostly from Mirage, and the launch was pure theater. On April 19, 2009, Porsche unveiled the Panamera on the 94th floor of the World Financial Center in Shanghai. Porsche says 60 people spent hours preparing the car to stand upright in a freight lift. The lift climbed 400 meters in 1 minute. Subtle it was not. The styling divided people immediately. From some angles, it looked like a 911 pulled in 4 directions. From others, it looked unlike any luxury sedan on the road. Underneath that controversial shape, however, was serious engineering. The launch Panamera S and 4S used 4.8-liter naturally aspirated V8s with 400 horsepower. The Turbo used a 4.8-liter twin-turbo V8 with 500 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. The S drove the rear wheels. The 4S and Turbo used active all-wheel drive. All 3 used Porsche's 7-speed dual-clutch PDK in the US specification. This was not a normal executive sedan with a Porsche badge. It was a front-engined Grand Tourer designed around 4 individual seats, a low driving position, a huge center console, and a practical hatchback. The Turbo went further. Porsche gave it air suspension with additional air volume on demand, and one of the strangest active spoilers of the era, a multi-piece wing that rose, widened, and changed its shape above the rear deck. The Panamera also helped push PDK, start-stop technology, and Porsche's new cockpit philosophy into the luxury class. It was heavy, complex, and occasionally awkward-looking. It was also fast, useful, and unmistakably ambitious. Porsche did not leave the Panamera as one expensive V8 experiment. The range expanded into V6, V8, Turbo, GTS, diesel, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, hybrid, and plug-in hybrid versions. Some early naturally aspirated cars were even offered with a manual transmission in selected markets, although most buyers chose PDK. In 2011, the Panamera S Hybrid became Porsche's first parallel full hybrid in the luxury class. 2 years later, Porsche described the SE Hybrid as the first plug-in hybrid in its segment. The 2013 facelift, often called the 970.2, sharpened the body, introduced new powertrains, and added the long-wheelbase Executive, a version aimed especially at customers who wanted to be driven in the back. By the end, the first-generation range stretched from 250 to 570 metric horsepower. And it sold. Between April 2009 and August 2016, Porsche produced 164,503 first-generation Panameras. This was not a failed model. It was a successful new Porsche line, which makes the depreciation even more interesting. Start with the segment. Large luxury cars are built around new technology, current styling, expensive options, and the feeling of being at the front of the queue. Once they become old, the next owner is comparing yesterday's flagship with today's ordinary car. The Panamera adds 3 more forces. First, it was never rare. More than 164,000 first-generation cars means buyers can be selective. Second, the design aged in a very specific way. The roofline and rear body that made the car practical also made it controversial. People who dream of a classic Porsche often picture a 911, not a four-door hatchback. Third, the option list created enormous variation. Two cars with the same badge can have different suspension, brakes, lighting, audio, interior equipment, drivetrain, and powertrain complexity. That makes the cheapest listing difficult to understand from a photograph. Kelley Blue Book's current US national average figures make the fall visible. Its page lists the 2010 Turbo at an original MSRP of $135,020 and a fair purchase figure around $18,000 as of July 26, 2026. Market values move. Mileage, condition, history, and location matter. But the scale of the drop is real. The used price now overlaps with normal family cars. The maintenance does not. This is where used car videos often become lazy. They collect every failure ever reported, attach it to every model year, and call the whole generation a disaster. The real Panamera story is more specific. Some risks are official recalls. NHTSA campaign 17V368 covered affected 2010 through 2012. Panamera variants for camshaft controller fasteners that could fail. Porsche's filing says warning lights, engine noise, vibration, and even stalling were possible. The remedy involved replacing the fasteners and, where necessary, the controller assemblies. Another campaign, 19V446, covered affected 2010 through 2016 Panameras for a gear selector cable bushing. The shifter could display park even though the transmission was not actually secured in park, creating a rollaway risk. Those are recall checks, not guesses. Coverage depends on the VIN, so verify the exact car in the official database. Then there are age and maintenance risks. Independent Porsche buyer guides recommend paying close attention to PDK behavior, all-wheel drive transfer case operation, coolant leaks and cooling system history, air suspension where fitted, the active spoiler, brakes, tires, and complete service records. That does not mean every Panamera suffers every problem. It means a pre-purchase inspection must identify which systems are actually fitted, what has already been repaired, and what is approaching the end of its service life. A low asking price cannot answer those questions. A specialist scan and inspection can. Do not begin with the badge on the boot. Begin with the history file. Confirm the exact engine and trim. Check open recalls by VIN. Start the car cold. Scan every control module. Test the PDK both cold and hot. On an all-wheel drive car, check for transfer case symptoms. Let the suspension sit and verify that the ride height stays even. Operate the rear spoiler. Inspect the cooling system, brakes, tires, and every expensive option. On hybrid versions, battery and high-voltage system health require specialist diagnosis. On turbo and highly optioned cars, remember that the most dramatic bargain also carries the greatest concentration of expensive hardware. Most importantly, buy condition rather than the lowest price. An $18,000 Panamera with missing records and warning lights is not automatically cheaper than a $25,000 car that has been maintained properly. The purchase price is only the entry ticket. The first Panamera was not Porsche losing its way. It was Porsche finally building the car it had imagined since the 1950s. A fast, practical four-seat Grand Tourer that could carry people, luggage, and serious speed in the same trip. Its styling made it controversial. Its complexity made it expensive. Its success made it common enough to depreciate. And that is why a $135,000 Porsche can now sit beside ordinary used cars at $18,000. The bargain is real. So is the original engineering bill. Buy the right one, and the Panamera 970 may be one of the most interesting used Porsches on the market. Buy the cheapest one, and you may discover exactly why it became cheap. Subscribe to Speed TV 21 for researched car stories, engine legends, and buyer warnings without fake ownership claims.